The Tennessee Titans absolutely must get a future first-round pick back if they trade down from number 1 overall. I'll tell you what those trades should look like on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans. On today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, we're going to look at the Tennessee Titans trade down options. If the Tennessee Titans do trade down from number 1 overall, I have a baseline of what that trade should look like and what the Titans should be getting back. We'll also dive deeper into who the trade partners could be for the Titans and what their individual trade packages should look like. And then finally, I'll tell you why I do not want any veteran players back in any of these potential draft trades. Before we dive into all of it, though, thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. The offseason is a crazy time, so you want to make sure that you're an everydayer. Shout out to my everydayers tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys, and if you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. Again, tons of breaking news all the time, and I'm coming with all of the facts, all of the information, all the possibilities. You're not going to be a more informed Tennessee Titans fan than if you're watching this podcast. So with that being said, let's talk about this trade down for the Tennessee Titans. So obviously a lot of people out there in the fan base want the Titans to take Abdul Carter, or take Travis Hunter, or take Cam Ward, or take Shedeur Sanders with the number 1 overall pick. But I feel like a majority of Tennessee Titans fans do want the Titans to trade down. I think the majority of Titans fans are smart enough to look at this roster and realize that the best thing that could happen for the Titans is to have patience, trade down, acquire as many picks as possible, and then build the roster, which is exactly what allowed the Tennessee Titans to turn into a contender for a few years from 2019 to 2021. It was because of that trade down with the first overall pick in 2016 with the Rams. That set the Titans on a path to have enough picks to add enough players to the roster to turn the Tennessee Titans around. Now, you could say the Titans had a quarterback in place at that time in Marcus Mariota. I would argue that the reason the Titans turned into a contender wasn't because of Marcus Mariota at quarterback. It was because the roster was so good. And as a matter of fact, the proof is in the pudding. The Titans didn't turn into that contender until they replaced Marcus Mariota. So to me, it had much more to do with the Titans trading down from number 1 overall in 2016 than it had to do with Marcus Mariota being already on the roster. I don't think that you can make that argument, in my opinion. So you look at the best team that we've seen from the Tennessee Titans in the last 20 years, it happened because of a trade down. So again, I think a lot of logical Tennessee Titans fans look at the roster, look at where the Titans are at. Hear Chad Brinker say that they want 12 top 100 picks in the next 3 years. Hear Mike Borgonzi say that, draft picks are your primary ammo. All of these things the Tennessee Titans new leaders are telling us is that they value draft picks. They value as many as they can possibly get. They come from Kansas City. They come from Green Bay, especially with Chad Brinker, who are all about collecting as many picks as they possibly can. Look, the draft is hard. I think all of us, if we're honest, acknowledge the draft is hard. I know that. I'm not always right about what I think these guys are going to do out of the draft. John Robinson was a professional general manager in the NFL, and he made countless mistakes. So even the people who are considered experts, Howie Roseman is the best general manager in the NFL, right? Well, he drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean? Like, the San Francisco 49ers build great teams. Well, they traded up for Trey Lance at number 3. Kansas City took Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. Even the best of the best make mistakes. So if the draft is a crapshoot and even the best of the best in the world mess up, wouldn't it be better to have as many swings as possible? That's the general philosophy here. So to me, if the Titans do make a trade down, which is what I would like to see them do, There has to be a baseline for what that trade will look like. There has to be, the Titans have to get this at minimum. And to me, for any trade down for the Titans to be worth it, they have to get these four things. These four things. They have to get the first round swap this year. So if the Titans traded with the Giants, they need to get pick number 3. If they traded with the Raiders, they need to get pick number 6. They need to get this year's first round pick. They need to get a day 2 pick this year, whether that be in the second round or the third round. They need to get a first round pick next year, and then a day 2 pick next year. So those are the four things. That is the absolute baseline. Any trade, any draft trade for the number 1 overall pick in the draft, any trade whatsoever, has to include those four things. This year's first round pick, because we're going to swap. You get 1.1. I get whatever pick you have in the first round this year. I want a day 2 pick in the top 100. Day 2 is the second and third round. So I want a top 100 pick next year. Remember, the Titans don't have a third round pick. So your first this year, a day 2 pick this year, your first next year, and a day 2 pick next year. Whether that could be this year's first, next year's first, a third rounder this year, and a third rounder next year. Again, that would be the bare minimum that I would need the Tennessee Titans to get back for any trade to be considered a great trade, in my opinion. So that's my bare minimum there. And pretty much every team that the Titans could trade with, starting with again, I don't think the Cleveland Browns are making a trade this year. Guys, it's funny because Cleveland needs a quarterback. Deshaun Watson's terrible. Deshaun Watson's not the answer in Cleveland. The Browns need a quarterback. But their fans, for the most part, there are Browns fans that want quarterback, just like there are Titans fans. But the majority of Cleveland Browns fans want the Tennessee Titans to take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or trade down themselves. The Browns are having the same conversations we are. So I don't think that the Cleveland Browns are trading up to number 1 overall. That's not happening. So I start with the Giants at number 3. And again, that would be the shortest trade pick-wise that the Tennessee Titans could make, going from number 1 to number 3. But again, even with that short of a trade, I'm going to need a first-round pick this year. I'm going to need a first-round pick next year. I'm going to need a day 2 pick this year and a day 2 pick next year. And that is the bare minimum for me. Any trade that the Tennessee Titans make from number 1 overall down at all has to have at least those 4 elements to it, period. Or I'm not going to be, maybe there's a trade out there that I'll say, oh, that was good. But there is no great trade down that doesn't include those 4 things, even at number 3 with the Giants. But the Giants aren't the only team the Titans can trade with. There are multiple options high in the draft that could look to jump up and get a quarterback. I'll go over those options, why they would be looking at jumping up to get a quarterback, and what exactly those trades should look like with those teams. And then I'll tell you at the end of the show why I don't want any of your veteran players in a trade down. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind. When it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip: add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. It's an entire episode based around the Tennessee Titans trading down. I talked about what my base package would be for the Titans and why a trade down makes so much sense. But what would these trade downs actually look like? What teams make sense? I'm going to go over that right now before I dive in. Thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. But obviously, we start where we were just having our conversation at before, and that's the New York Giants. The New York Giants. And I want to address this really quick. So I see people say, why would the New York Giants want to trade up for either of these quarterbacks if the Titans don't like these quarterbacks? Why would the Browns or the Giants or, whoever, why would any team want to trade up and get one of these quarterbacks if the Titans don't like the quarterbacks? The Titans need a quarterback. So wouldn't that mean that the other teams wouldn't pay as much or wouldn't be interested? Why would they do that? If the Titans don't want them, why would they? That's not how it works. Plain and simple. That's not how it works. Not everyone is on the Tennessee Titans timeline. Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen from the New York Giants, they cannot afford to not get a good solution at quarterback this offseason. They simply cannot afford that based on where they're at in their timeline with their job security. Mike Borgonzi isn't getting fired in 1 year. That's not happening. Maybe Brian Callahan gets fired, but Brian Callahan isn't in charge. Joe Schoen will be fired if he doesn't go out and find a solution to the quarterback position this year, especially after the Saquon Barkley humiliation and especially after the Daniel Jones contract. The Giants are not in the same position as the Tennessee Titans. So if the Tennessee Titans say, hey, we can be patient, we don't need to draft a quarterback number 1 overall, that doesn't mean that the Giants will be less likely to want to move up and get their quarterback. I don't agree with that philosophy at all in any way. Same thing. The Cleveland Browns, they may be patient, but Andrew Berry, after the Deshaun Watson situation and the Browns cratering last year, he's on the hot seat. Kevin Stefanski is on the hot seat. They cannot afford to not consider doing anything. So, to me, and the Las Vegas Raiders, they just went out and got Pete Carroll. Can they be patient at the quarterback position? Pete Carroll is the oldest coach in the NFL. The Saints, the Jets, they just hired win now coaches who want to win right now. Whose general managers, the Jets got a new general manager, so maybe not them. But the Saints general manager, Mickey Loomis, has been around for a while. So I'm just saying, just because the Tennessee Titans don't want one of the quarterbacks and are willing to trade down does not mean that those quarterbacks hold any less value to other teams who are in different timelines and different situations than the Titans. So with that in mind, again, if the New York Giants come a-calling, there was a draft trade recently, and here's how I like to do it. We can look at the draft calculators. We can look at the Jimmy Johnson chart. We can look at the Fitzgerald Spielberger chart. You can look at any trade chart you want. You know what the best trade chart to look at is? Previous trades in the NFL. That is the best thing to go off of. And you go to 2018 and Sam Darnold. The New York Jets traded up from number 6 to number 3. So that's 3 spots. They gave up pick number 6, pick number 37, pick number 49, and a second-round pick in the next year's draft. So they gave up their first rounder and 3 second-round picks. And I have seen people say, well, we've never seen a 3-spot jump result in a first-round pick in a future year. But here's what I would say to that. When the Jets traded up for Sam Darnold, the Colts had 2 second-round picks that year. They had pick 37 and pick 49. Well, the Giants, the Raiders, the Jets, the Saints, none of them have 2 second-round picks in the top 50. So you can't replicate that. So since you don't have 2 second-round picks this year, I want a first round next year instead of a second round next year. It's simple. None of the teams have 2 second-round picks in the top 50. So without that as a possibility, I'm going to need a first-round pick next year. Also, the Jets traded up from 6 to 3. Well, the number 1 overall pick costs more than the 3rd overall pick. Sam Darnold was the 2nd quarterback taken that year. Baker Mayfield was 1. Well, the fact that there aren't a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft class, that means that whoever you think is the best quarterback, they're worth more than Sam Darnold, who was the 2nd best quarterback. So number 1 costs more than number 3. The number 1 quarterback taken costs more than the 2nd quarterback taken. And none of the teams the Titans can trade with have 2 second-round picks. So the Titans need a first-round pick in 2026 from the New York Giants to drop back to number 3. So from the Giants, I'm going to need pick number 3, pick number 34 in the 2nd round, and next year's 2025 first rounder, and then a 3rd round pick next year. If they want to do pick number 3, next year's first round pick, and 2 third rounders, they're number 65 this year, and their number in their 2nd rounder next year, switch that up. I'll do that. I'll do pick number 3, pick number 65, a first round pick, and a 2nd round pick next year. I'll do that. Or I'll do pick number 3, pick number 34, a first round pick this year, and a 3rd round pick next year. I'll do either of those combinations for the New York Giants. And that is based on the historical trades that we've seen before. Now, go even further down that. What about the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6? Well, that's a 6-spot jump, right? That's a 6-spot jump. And that's sort of comparable to what the Bears did when they traded back to number 9 with the Panthers to let Panthers come up and get Bryce Young. And the Bears got pick number 9, pick 61 in the 2nd round that year, DJ Moore, who was worth a 2nd round pick, a 1st round pick in 2024, and a 2nd round pick in 2025 for 9 spots for the number 1 quarterback. So if the Titans are going down 6 spots, they're not going to get quite as much as that, but I want pick number 6. I want next year's 1st round pick, and I want your 2nd and 3rd round pick this year. The Bears went back 9 spots. They got a 1st rounder, a 2nd rounder, DJ Moore worth a 2nd rounder, so 2 2nd rounders, a 1st next year, and a 3rd 2nd in 2025. They got 3 2nd round values and 2 firsts for 9. So I want pick number 6, a 2nd, a 3rd this year, 37 and 68, and the Raiders still have pick number 73. So that's why I think the Raiders would do it, because they have 2 third-round picks. So give me your 2nd round pick, pick number 37, pick number 6, one of your 3rd round picks, whether it's 68 or 73, and then next year's 1st. And you can move up to pick number 1 and get your quarterback of the future. What about the Jets? The Jets are 1 pick behind the Saints. The Raiders don't have a quarterback at all. The Jets are parting ways with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Glenn is going to want to win now with a lot of win now pieces. They need to either get a quarterback high in the draft or sign Sam Darnold maybe. But if I'm going down to number 7, it's going to be very similar to number 6. I want pick number 7. I want pick number 42. I want pick number 92. I'll take 20 picks less because it's 1 spot less, right? And then I want a 1st round pick next year. If you don't want to give me your 3rd round pick, number 92 this year is the Jets, then I want pick number 7, pick number 42, a 1st round pick next year, and a 2nd round pick next year. You have the option. Either give me your 3rd round pick this year or give me your 2nd round pick next year to go along with your 2nd this year and your 1st next year. It's that simple. I'm going from 7 to number 1 overall. And then finally, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints pick number 9. So, of course, I'm going to look for a similar trade to what the Bears got for the number 1 pick from the Panthers. Is Cam Ward worth as much as Bryce Young? Maybe not, but there was C.J. Stroud in that draft. There was Anthony Richardson and Will Levis in that draft. There aren't as many good options in this year's draft. There's Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. There's nobody else worth a first-round pick. So you're going to have to pay more because the limited resources. Remember, Econ 101. Econ 101. Supply low, demand high. High price. Supply low, demand high, high price. So from the Saints, if they want to move up from 9, I want number 9. I want pick number 40. They have 71 and 93. I'll take 93. I want a 2025 first, and I want a 3rd-round pick next year too. Or 2026. I keep saying 2025 when I'm talking about next year. My brain's having trouble dealing with the time change, obviously. But so if I'm going to number 9, I need number 9, number 40, number 93, next year's first and next year's 3rd. Simple. Like, the Titans can't just trade down for nothing. They have to trade down and it be worth it. If not, take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, who are significantly better than any of the other non-quarterback prospects. So give me what I want or you get nothing. It's that simple. But with that being said, none of the trade packages that I talked about include a veteran player. You know why? Because I don't want them. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the entire game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off and you want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team to make a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3. I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. It's been a whole episode focused on trading back, what the package should look like, who are the trade partners, what could they offer. I'm going to talk about why I don't want any veteran players in the trade, though. To cap things off, before I continue, I do want to thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. I host Locked On NFL for the Locked On Podcast Network, so I'd appreciate your guys' support over there. But with that being said, I know that to some people, this is going to be incredibly controversial. I get that. Some people are not going to like this. They're going to disagree. They're going to tell me to keep an open mind. You never know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. I get it. I do not want any veteran players back in a trade. I saw a mock draft recently. We might go over it on Monday, quite honestly. But I saw a mock draft recently that had the Titans trading down to number 9 with the Saints, but Derek Carr coming in the package. And it was like pick number 6 or pick number 9, pick number 40, Derek Carr, and a second-round pick next year or something like that. Derek Carr getting a third-round value in that trade. That's everybody saying, look at Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, a lot of quarterbacks that have been traded recently that were still starters at the time. We're going for like third or fourth round picks. So that's probably the right value. You could say Derek Carr is worth about a 3rd round, 4th round pick. All right, great. But here's the thing. I want Derek Carr in free agency for the Titans. I am not willing to give up draft capital or sacrifice the draft capital I would be getting back for Derek Carr. In my mind, if you do that trade, you're doing that trade and you're getting everything you got back for the number 1 pick. And then you're looking at it as, hey, I traded instead of getting a 3rd round pick back, I traded for Derek Carr. The Tennessee Titans should not be trading any draft picks for veteran players. This team is not ready to win right now. They shouldn't be accepting DJ Moore in a trade. They shouldn't be looking to make a trade with the Browns and get Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is never coming to the Tennessee Titans. He told a Titans fan that, Mr. Titan, told a Titans fan in a Dallas airport, why would I come to you guys? You haven't built anything. Myles Garrett isn't coming to the Titans. And there are going to be veteran players out there. Why would they want to come to the Titans either? And more importantly, why would the Titans want that? Why would you trade, instead of getting a 3rd round pick from the Jets, why would you take back Aaron Rodgers and pay his full salary for the year and sacrifice a 3rd round pick? Why would you do that with Derek Carr? Why would you do that with, oh gosh, think of a player, Marquez Valdes-Scantling for the Saints, or, go to the Jets, like CJ Mosley, you know what I mean? Or go to the Raiders. Even Max Crosby. Max Crosby is an awesome player, one of my favorite players in the whole league. I liked Max Crosby out of Eastern Michigan. He was one of my favorite edge rushers in that draft. I tweeted him all the time. Please go to the Titans. I love Max Crosby. But if the Titans got Max Crosby right now, why would he feel he's in a different situation than the Raiders? The Titans need to get as many draft picks as they possibly can to get rookie contracts. They need to get rookies and develop young players on rookie contracts who they can turn into stars. They can draft and develop. Again, to me, this whole conversation is about patience and expectations. Some of you guys are like, the Titans, I expect them to go out and win a bunch of games this year. My expectation is not that the Titans are going to win a bunch of games this year. My goal for the Titans isn't that they win a bunch of games this year. I don't care if the Titans win 6, 7, 8, 9 games. The Titans need to draft good young players that they can add to this roster to build it into a contender in a couple of years. My expectations for the Titans could be different next year. But this year, my expectations are incredibly low, and my only hope is that the Titans start building a roster with young players that they can develop, that are cheap, that allow them to turn this into a competitive team. None of the players that the Titans could trade for fit the timeline of this football team. So I don't want any veteran players. Any veteran player, I don't want Max Crosby. Give me 2 first-round picks. I don't want Derek Carr. Give me a 3rd round pick. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. Give me a 3rd round pick. I would take Rodgers and Carr on the free agent market. That's been my plan. But any transaction that would give the Titans a player instead of a pick, I'm against. Any realistic one anyway. If the Titans get, CJ Stroud, sure, we'll make the trade. You know what I mean? Jaden Daniels, I'll make the trade. There's obviously not a blanket statement, but realistically speaking, the players that would be available in a trade like this, I don't want any of them. I'd rather have the requisite value in draft picks. This team needs to build. Everyone needs to be patient. And a trade down is the best way to do it. And the trades that I've outlined today are the trades that the Titans need to consider. But with that being said, make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. That's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.